All right, Home Squad Sports. We got Week 8 preview here. Got a preview show. Really excited to get into it. Hope everyone's had a really good week. We got a pretty good lineup. Last week's lineup was really good. I think we got another one as well. So very excited about it. We'll go ahead and get into it here. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So right now, I mean, I guess it's last night. If you missed it, we got WKU over Sam Houston State. That was a pretty good game there. WK was able to get it done again. They came in as a underdog on the road, so that was pretty crazy. Just to see them, as an underdog. They've been good all year. I think they were just an underdog, maybe because it was a short week, but yeah, they was able to get it done. They went on a 17-0, like 21-0 run in like 5 minutes or something like that. It's crazy. It doesn't. We've said it before here. It really doesn't matter like what a coach they have, a quarterback they have, coordinator. It doesn't really matter. WKU, they always have a really good offense, which is always good to see. I mean, they're with us being from Louisville and Kentucky. They're right up the road. So, um, yeah, it's just really good to see them do good. With my high school teammates, they're all-time leading receiver. So, um, you know, I'm not a fan of WKU, but I always like to see him win. So was scared to put money on it though. Not gonna lie, because with this is them coming off a short week, and Sam Houston had the canceled game because of the weather, the hurricane weather a couple weeks ago. So they were coming off like almost, I don't know, 2.5 weeks off. So it was pretty wild. I thought they were going to get it done, but Sam Houston State, they're just getting into D1, so they're a work in progress there. All right, so we got FIU versus UTEP as well. So 30-21, UTEP was able to get it done. Nothing crazy. This game was pretty boring, honestly. Do got some games going on right now. I mean, they got the dub. Shout out UTEP. Don't want to overlook it too much because a dub's a dub. So you take it when you can get it. So UTEP, I mean, one of those teams where with Texas they can get those local kids and plus hit the portal too. So you never know with them. I think they could be good and they can be a UNLV team. One of these Army and Navy teams where they could be undefeated or 4-0 next year. You never know. So never overlook them, but they was able to get the dub over FIU. FIU just not that really good. So we do have games going on tonight. If you're able to catch them, they got Georgia State and Marshall and Boston College and Virginia Tech. As of right now, looks like Boston College down 21-42 against Virginia Tech. Bill O'Brien having a rough year. Bill O'Brien, very good coach. He coached at Bama, was the head coach at Houston Texans back when they had Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, back when they were really good. So he hasn't been really translated, I mean, as a head coach, looks like. I know, yeah, he's got his quarterback issues there. His quarterback Castellanos was hurt in and out kind of throughout the year. So that, it's not good to see when your quarterback's banged up, but didn't really expect them to get blown out like that. As for Georgia State and the Marshall game that have already wrapped up, that was Georgia State losing 20-35. Georgia State's a weird team looking into this game because Georgia State actually beat Vandy so early in the year. So I was actually wanting to bet on this game. I really wanted to bet Marshall on it, but I was really scared. And yeah, I'm mad I stood away from it, but it kind of made sense because I think this was um, it was a touchdown. I think it was like 6.5, 7.5 for the spread. Marshall was supposed to win. I think it might have been even 3 or 4. But yeah, either way, Marshall was favored, so should have hammered Marshall. But Marshall's has two quarterback system, so that's always shaky. They always say if you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one. So I believe that. I definitely do. So I think that just moving down the line, Marshall, like I'm saying, another one of those teams that could just be really good in a year or two, and you might have to be on the lookout for them. But they were able to get the win by 15 tonight, 20-35. We'll have those final scores obviously posted on our pages. But kind of into the nitty gritty here. The reason why we kind of get together here and showcase our games of the week. Very excited to have this slate here. Now it's not too crazy as last week, I would honestly say. It's not too wild, but I do like our slate here, honestly, and I think these are by far the 6 best games of the week. I think there is some bigger implications here. I think there's a couple of games we could have put on here, but I don't think they're going to have as big as implications as they seem, right now. So I try to do that here, but I would say out of all these games, I'm really excited for the Florida State and Duke, which is the one we're lucky enough to get first. So that's going to be a Friday night game at 7. Duke's having a hell of a year, and Florida State's having a horrible year. So Mike Norvell looking like he's on the hot seat. We'll get into that here in a second. But do want to go over the Malik Murphy situation there. I really like him at quarterback there at Duke. He's proven a lot of people wrong. He's proven me wrong. I think that he's really been poised. Manny Diaz is their coach there at Duke. He used to be a coach at Miami. Miami wasn't a good fit for him. Kind of didn't have the best looking, like, I don't know, just he just looked like he was just stood there. You could tell the players kind of ran the program. Kind of, it's so weird because he was in Miami, but it kind of reminded me of Larry Coker back in the day. How that's pretty much the players ran that program. So they ran it good. They policed their own players. They ran a tight ship. It was the players. They had vets on their team, and they had a bunch of sanctions and scandals they were coming out of, and they was really wanted to win because they weren't even allowed to go to bowl games for a few years. So it kind of reminds me of back then. But yeah, as for Manny Diaz, head coach of Duke, I would say this is going to be a really good game. Florida State's going to lose, I think. I got Duke here, 7 o'clock Friday night. College on a Friday night, got mixed feelings about it. I've always said it, always will. Think that should be for high school games. Think that's just, that's the night for the high school man to go out and support your kid, your brother, your nephew, whoever, and that should be their night. But we got college and money talks, man, and they want that on TV, so it's all them TV dollars. So we're going to get more of those, unfortunately, I think, throughout the years. But that leads us into this game here, which goes, these are in order. So we got 2 noons and 2 3:30 times. So you might need the double TVs this week. Throw one on the phone or however you watch your TV. Go to a sports bar or something and watch it. But it's got some good games, man. We couldn't leave them off here, no matter if they're scrunched on time. Nebraska, Indiana. I mean, Indiana's having a hell of a year. Kirk Cignetti, are they going to be able to keep that coach? I mean, he's up for Coach of the Year. He's brought a bunch of players over with him. He was at James Madison, and they were really good. When he had the control over them, and he's still keeping it rolling into the Big Ten. I mean, you get wins like this. I mean, they're probably just going to write him a blank check at Indiana, like the donors are, NIL, people like that. But I mean, is that going to be enough to keep him? Because the other programs that got bigger money, they can just do the same thing. And this kind of, even though they're undefeated, which is, you're never going to see this in the Indiana Hoosiers. Can't remember the last time they had like 8 wins. I can't remember the last time they had 8 wins ever. Growing up, and I'm pushing 30, so yeah, it's pretty crazy to see them. Shout out to the Hoosiers at their ball, and that's the beauty of the NIL, the beauty of the transfer portal. These teams actually got a shot now, and with the expanded playoff, they definitely got a shot to get in, and it's just better for football. Some might say it's watered down, but I'm on the other side of the boat, man. I actually think it's better for football, and we got more competitive games. And just take last week into consideration. I mean, you had Ohio State and Oregon. They were 2 undefeated teams, top 5 matchups, and top 10 matchups. And now when the one loses, it wasn't the end of the season. Years past, it would have been the end of the season. Some would say, well, are they just do they not care about winning as much because it's not the end of the season? I think you're just being petty if you argue that, because this time when it comes around with this expanded playoff, Oregon could have lost, Ohio State could have lost. They still are going to have a chance to get into the playoff. And that's actually good because they're still going to be playing hard. Now, say if they would have lost one more game, say if Ohio State would have dropped to Michigan and they would have, if it was the old rules, they would have been out, right? Definitely been out then. Or if Oregon would have dropped a Pac-12 game or a Big Ten game, because they're in as well now. So if one of those teams would have dropped another game, basically it would have been over. But now, then you had the players sitting out for bowls. You would have had the players sitting out and transferred and getting ready for the draft, all that bull. But now, since they're still in it, you're going to see players play longer, play harder, probably play the full season, hopefully. So shout out to Duke here, Florida State, and Nebraska and Indiana. I mean, 2 really good games to start it out. And then I got Indiana beated Kurt Cignetti. I think he's my pick for Coach of the Year. We'll talk about that in a second. We got all of our Coach of the Year picks here, which I think is a crazy list that we're not used to seeing. So, but with that said, I got Nebraska falling short. Matt Rule's doing a hell of a job there, first year in Nebraska, but I think Kurt Cignetti's on a different type of time. He's he's got that little bit different swag, which is crazy to see because these teams are a lot similar. They do their thing. They're really boring, but it gets the job done, right? So, however you get your job done, it doesn't really matter. So shout out to them. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think the Hoosiers pull away and stay undefeated. Coming up here with Louisville and Miami. Miami is on the road. I have money on this game, and I got some mixed feelings about this game. Honestly, I think it's going to be a really good game. Cam Ward's going to be tested. He's been tested all year, but I think he's going to be tested again. This isn't going to be a tune-up game for him. I think that it is actually going to be a live, round here, and it's going to be a good conference game. Louisville's really wanting to make 2 wins in a row. I think they stole one last week with Virginia, so shout out to them. However, you can get a win, it doesn't matter. They got the win. So they're trying to get 2 in a row, beat a really good team, a championship contender, home field. It's a noon game. I wish the game was a little later because this is one of the best games of the day, honestly. And Louisville is out of the playoff picture, but they could crash another team's party, so to say. So I know that's they were trying to do last year with Florida State, and a lot of other teams too, trying to crash the party. And if they can keep another team out of a bowl, then they consider that a win, I guess. I don't know. Some teams are weird like that these days, but I do think it's going to be a great game. With that said, I think that Louisville's going to bring their A game. I think they're going to try to slow the game down, keep the ball out of Cam Ward's hands, and run the ball. They're going to have no choice because I don't think their quarterback's just dynamic at all. He's pretty one-dimensional, which is okay. But if you're going to be have a one-dimensional quarterback, your run game has to be really strong. Your defense has to be even stronger, and I don't think they have the personnel to do it. Unfortunately, I think Miami is going to win in a closer game than people think. I think they are 6.5-point favorite or 6-point favorite. I think it's going to come about a field goal or less. We'll see, but I think it's going to be a close game. Or it could be one of those games where it's really close through 3.5 quarters, and then a team just gets hot and scores 2 touchdowns at the end, and then the scoreboard tells a lie to where it kind of looks more of a blowout than it was. So I think it's going to be a close game and a well fought game. So shout out to Louisville there trying to keep the Canes from making a historic run there, because back on the map, the U. So we'll see. I have Miami winning. I have them winning just money line. So if you're a betting person, I think that's a good one. It's a favorite. They're supposed to win, but I think a lot of people are going to be shocked of how good of a game it is if you haven't been paying attention to them. So with that being said, we'll move on to our back half. 3:30 slate pulling up here. We got 2 games. I think these games are really good. Michigan and Illinois. Illinois finally proven, and showing that, even with this, they're still in wins. That's great, but you're eventually going to come up short. You're eventually going to, fall short. And I think they're going to lose this game up front. I mean, Michigan's not great, but Michigan's offensive line and defensive line is going to be a lot better than Illinois'. But that doesn't say that Illinois is horrible. But give me a second here. Excuse me, but yeah, I don't think Illinois is horrible, but I just think they've been ranked too high. But you have to keep them ranked when they were undefeated. I get it, but I think they're going to lose. Michigan's going to win. This out of all these games, I think this will be the least boring game. But this does have potential to be maybe one of the most high scoring games if they just go out guns a-blazing and take some shots on first and second down and don't turn the ball over. So we'll see. Penalties are going to tell a big deal in all these games, but definitely this game. But with that being said, I'm going to take it's a hard one. Man. Let's see here. I'm going to I'll take Michigan. Give me Michigan, and it's gonna be a close one. I got him by 4-6, 4-6. I don't know. Give him by 7. I guess they'll give a touchdown, but they need a new quarterback. Michigan does. I don't know if Dave Portnoy is going to buy him a quarterback or not. We'll see. Hopefully, it does. That'd be pretty cool just to see because if he talks it and actually does it, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, give me Michigan, and then we'll move on to another game. I think is going to be a great game. This was almost our game of the week. Almost game of the week. Jalen Milrose got a lot to prove this game, and I think that he's going to really come out and ball. I don't think Nico there at Tennessee is ready to beat Bama. Is it the same Bama we've seen for the last 10, 15 years? No, it's not the same, but they're definitely better than Tennessee. You've seen what they did against Florida. They really struggled against Florida. They almost lost, and some would say they should have lost. I think they should have lost. So Tennessee's not like that. But when you got a team that's trying to, prove people wrong and come up off a bad performance, then, they're underdog. They know it. They're trying to prove people wrong, and they're trying to prove themselves right. So they're trying to prove themselves right that they're not just a fluke. And I think we're kind of a year too early on Tennessee. Honestly, they got some great quarterbacks coming in the next 2-3 years. Number one quarterback in the nation. But I just don't think they're going to win. I just don't. I mean, with them being at home, that's the only reason I see it being a close game. I think Bama's going to ball and stomp on their heads if they get the chance, but that's only if their defense cannot just fall apart, man. Like I've never seen an Alabama defense this shaky or just like I don't know. You can't put your like not money on them figuratively or literally. Like it's just hard. It's really hard. They're going to give up points, and you never see that going into a Bama game, and that's the change of the era with Saban and to DeBoer. I think that you just it's weird saying that. All right, we know going into the game that Bama's going to give up some points. Like we just don't know. We've never said that about Bama ever. Um, but dude, does Tennessee put points on them? Does Tennessee or do they put 35-42 on them? I don't think so. Give me Alabama. Give me Alabama by maybe a field goal. Honestly, I think they'll be up 10 late. Tennessee will go and score, make it a 3, and then they'll try for onside or whatever, and then they'll knee it out with being able to go up 10, but just knee it out because of the clock. I think they'll be able. The Alabama will be in position to make it 10, but they'll just knee it out and take the 3-point victory. I know that's a weird scenario to build up, but I think that I can honestly see that happening. I wouldn't be too surprised. So quick here until we get to our last game. Quick picks, go into them, and then we do have a Saturday morning. We do have Saturday morning here where we'll get all of our picks, and I'm not, I might flip on a couple of these picks by Saturday morning. I don't know. We don't have to have our full picks in by, until noon, but only pick we really have to have in is this Friday night game. That's why I went ahead and definitely went over that and gave my pick. It's Duke by far. I am leaning Indiana. I am leaning Miami on these other ones, but you never know. I know the lines are going to switch, so I got some time to really think about those a little more. But definitely give me Duke. I don't like betting spreads, man. I just don't, especially winning spreads, beating spreads all day because that's just I would take that because that's just like a safe money line, right? It's a safe money line taking the underdog spread. It's like, hey, if they win, I'm right, but if they cover, I'm right. If they win, I'm a genius, pretty much. So, but going into the last game here of our slate, it is actually our game of the week, Georgia and Texas. It's going to be a brawl. Absolute brawl. I am really excited for this game. I don't think a lot of people are. We haven't really had a really big matchup. I know last week with Oregon and sorry, I have to go going blank here. Oregon and Ohio State. That was two undefeated teams. Now, obviously, Ohio State's not undefeated anymore. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy. But I will go ahead and say this is our game of the week, and I'm really excited to see just how this plans out. I think Texas is going to try and prove they are the number one team in the nation. They obviously are ranked number one team in the nation, but this is the game of the week here. We got Quinn Ewers and Carson Beckster going to duel here and go all out, man. I mean, I think Quinn Ewers is a really good player. I think he's a really good pros prospect. I seen a crazy take that was so crazy that I believed it a little bit, and that was about Carson Beck. I've been an avid Carson Beck, not hater, but just doubter. I think he's a system quarterback in college. So I was like, well, obviously he's going to be at best a system quarterback in the league. But I seen an interesting take where it said Carson Beck's going to be a better pro quarterback than a college quarterback. That is actually possible, which I hate to say, but it's actually possible. He could actually be a better pro. Because he could actually go to a better system if he drops down a little bit in the draft. People still think he could win the Heisman. People still think Dylan Gabriel can win the Heisman. I don't think that's true, honestly, but he could be a better pro. But he's not a pro yet, so I don't think he's better than Quinn Ewers. I don't think they're going to win. I like Texas here, right? As of right now, where I stand, until we get our final picks in. This is just kind of a preview of our picks and then other topics we definitely want to cover. But just want to highlight this game because this is by far the game of the week. I mean, another team's going to go down this week. I mean, is it going to be Texas? We have some undefeated teams here left. I'm very excited to really see a few of these teams on here. I mean, we don't see Army and Navy. They're still undefeated. Like I brought up Indiana. Army and Navy and Indiana is undefeated. I mean, it's wild. BYU is undefeated. They've been undefeated. Maybe not this late, but they've been 6-0 before, 6-1. 6-1 before. So we're not used to seeing it this year. We didn't expect to see BYU this year, but we've seen a good BYU be good before. We haven't seen Indiana be good. We haven't seen Army or Navy be this good. So I honestly think every single team on here might win. They might still be undefeated. We might still have quite a few here. So I mean. Texas is the only one here. And the two here that are on our pick six, actually, Texas and Indiana. I mean, it's been a really good year. Big Ten showing up that, they're maybe the second best conference. And I would say if they get add another team or two, they could give SEC a run for their money in a couple years if they still keep on recruiting like they have been, because Big Ten's been actually very impressive. Like I said, was bringing up Kirk Cignetti on he's up for Coach of the Year, which we got our own list together here of Coach of the Year here at Home Squad. So very excited to put that out today. If you catch that, we put that out on our socials on Instagram and X. Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But we got Kurt Cignetti. This isn't really in a specific order as in rankings, but I do have Kurt Cignetti winning Coach of the Year. Definitely. He's coached his ass off, man. I mean, he didn't have any, bona fide blue chip transfers. He had his guys he brought with James Madison and a couple other guys sprinkled in, but he didn't have a Cam Ward coming in, a blockbuster guy, a guy that was making millions and millions that he needs to hit on. But that's the reason why he's up for one of the top quarterbacks in the nation, Julian Lewis. He was the number one quarterback in the nation. He's dropped to like 7 or something, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you're this late into the year of senior year, because they only have about a month and a half, a month left of their senior year. So the rankings really don't matter. It only matters really until you sign him. So he might go there to Indiana, but honestly, I think he's waiting because I think Kirk Cignetti's going to go to a different school, unfortunately. We'll talk about that later in the year. I don't know exactly where he would go. Maybe Florida would offer him. I don't know though. I think Florida State could offer him. We do have a couple coaches on the hot seat there that I think are going to be having vacations next year and a big hefty bag on a buyout. So, but to round out the list here, I mean, we got Brian Newberry with Navy, and they're undefeated. Like I said, I mean, the Naval Academy, they don't go obviously get transfers. These are guys that are going to be servicemen and serving our country here before long. So they're not going to be going to the NFL. They could, but very slim. So definitely give a shout out to them. Shout out Navy. Pat Narduzzi with Pittsburgh. You talk about a team that's been grinding out wins. I mean, just when you think they're going to lose, they win. And they had a really good game with Cincinnati a few weeks back. They score a lot of points, and their defense shows up when they need to. And when they can't score a lot of points, then they still play good football. Like I thought Pittsburgh was going to lose a couple weeks ago. Honestly, they've been proving me wrong, and not really proving me wrong, but just been surprising me every week. I'm like, wouldn't be surprised either way, but then they come out with a big win when you think it's going to be a nail biter or when you think they're going to lose. So, I mean, could Pat Narduzzi maybe go anywhere? I think he's kind of good to stay with Pittsburgh. When we were at covering Elite 11 Columbus, Elite 11, the top quarterback camp in the nation, we were able to see a Pittsburgh commit coming into there next year. He actually threw pretty good. He wasn't horrible. I mean, he had a mullet going on. I'll get his name here later. But yeah, he was actually really good. We've seen a few good Big Ten quarterbacks actually in that camp. We'll actually get into that later with one of the guys we want to talk about. But another coach here up for Coach of the Year on the watch list on the they just came out with the first technically watch list or finalist or whatever of Bear Bryant Award Coach of the Year. But this is our list. We got Jeff Monken, Army. They came out with a really big list. This is the short list, I think, and these are the kind of guys I think would be finalists. So Jeff Monken with Army, echoing right what I said about Navy. We're not used to seeing these teams be good. These are people that are going to be serving our country, and they run the option. If anybody knows, they run the option, the triple option, and they throw it too a little bit. They've been throwing it more than in the past couple years than they ever have. So shout out Jeff Monken and Army. Army and Navy might have playoff implications. Think about that. The winner of the Army and Navy game goes to the playoff. Can you imagine how hype that's going to be? Because with Army and Navy, actually a lot of the teams are off that week. I think it's like a universal bye week, so nobody's playing except for them. Kind of like Thanksgiving, but it's just them playing. But I do want to go over to the last coach here, Kalani Sitake, who is a BYU native, USO. Shout out to Kalani Sitake. He's actually got BYU balling, man. I mean, they are ranked in there. They're knocking the top 5. I mean, they're like 3, I think. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, I never thought we would see this. I honestly wouldn't. I never thought we would saw BYU, Navy, and Army all fighting for playoff contention, and it's crazy. So this is the good. This is the up, of coaching. Coaching is a hard profession. Anybody that knows about it, I mean, you don't get a lot of time with your family. You're with these players more than your family. They are your family, and it's really taxing. And some of these coaches only get 4.5 hours of sleep a night, and some of them are sleeping at the office, and it's pretty crazy. So. Give me a second here. Having some issue with my camera. Just be right back. Yeah, that was weird. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, Kalani Sitake, like I said, is the ups of the coaching here. He's rounded out our list of coach of the year. So yeah, I mean, like I said, coaching is really hard, man. And you have your ups and have your downs, and unfortunately, there's downs too. And we want to talk about that as well. Unfortunately, we got to talk about it. These are the coaches that are on the hot seat that we think that are going to be let go this year. By the beginning of next year or by the end of this year. I think a few of these coaches aren't going to finish their year. I think their ADs, athletic directors, just kind of let them coach to kind of for fun and just to get their money's worth because they're going to have to be writing checks for these guys to go away here soon. So, yeah, who knows? I think it's going to be a long road for a few of these coaches, but we'll get into it here. Mike Norvell at Florida State. I mean, what a shit show. I mean, it's been bad from the jump. Been bad season, bad gambles, bad free agent signings. I mean, we have to call them that with the transfer portal. I mean, they're paying money. They're giving the bag to the wrong guys. DJ Ungale, whatever. It's just not a good quarterback. That was supposed to be their big ticket this year. That's supposed to kind of be the cherry on top of their roster, and that they were kind of supposed to be a contender this year, and they haven't done anything. So I think they'll be looking for a new coach. Who they get, I have no idea yet. That'll kind of play itself out with some of these coaches. Some of these coaches are going to probably sign extensions that are up for coach of the year that we may think are leaving that end up not leaving. So another coach here, Billy Napier, staying in the state of Florida at University of Florida. Billy Napier, man, I think it was a bad hire from the jump. I don't think all these coaches were bad hires from the jump, but they just kind of turned into bad hires. This guy right here, I think it's been a bad hire from the get-go. I liked him because he had a good fade on. I used to have a nice fade until I started losing my hair, but he had a nice fade on him. That's why I like him. But that's the only thing I like about him, dog. I don't think he's a good guy. I don't think, I mean, not a good guy, like a good guy for the job, like X's and O's. He just, he can't, I've never just seen him like comfortable. He looks like he's just in over his head and that he's just a coordinator. He's just a coordinator playing head coach. And that's okay. Like, that's okay if you're a really good coordinator, if you're not a head coach. Like, people think that if you can't be a head coach, you're not a good coach, which is totally not the case. This guy could be a good coordinator somewhere, but he's just not a leader of men, as they say. I don't think that he could, you can just kind of rally behind him. I think the guys kind of rally behind him because he gets away, maybe lets them get away with stuff or turns his eye on some of the stuff the other coaches wouldn't, or maybe he's just not a hard ass on them. But guess what? That's what you have to do if you want to be a great coach. You've seen Nick Saban do it. And the list goes on of all the coaches that, coach hard. You're supposed to coach hard, love harder. That's what they say. And, you got to coach hard, man. These kids want to be coached hard too. That's one thing I've noticed. A lot of these kids get a bad rap that are coming up here from high school and saying they don't want to be coached hard and they're lazy. A lot of them actually do. They actually want to be coached hard. And there's a lot of these coaches are just kind of in the wrong spot, man. Been kind of handed the keys, don't know how to drive, but that doesn't go for this next coach, which is Mac Brown. I mean, this is a different case here with Mac Brown in North Carolina. So he's been in the game for a long time. He's had a lot of success. He was coaching Vince Young. He back in the day, he was the head coach of Texas. He's just too old, man. He's just too old, and he's just lost his touch, I think, with the youth. And that's not like lost touch as in like you got to do TikToks and all the bullshit. Like, you don't have to do all that, but you do have to innovate a little bit. I think his offense is they're just kind of outdated, right? His offense is kind of outdated. His philosophy is just kind of outdated. As an old rich guy, you can relate to those kids. It's hard, but you can do it. It can be done. Nick Saban's an old rich guy, and you know what I'm saying. So I hate saying just compared to everybody to Nick Saban, he's the greatest of all time. But there's a lot of coaches like that to where you wouldn't think that they would have a good relationship with their coaches, and it's easy to think that because we got a lot of good young coaches. So I think they're going to go a different direction. Mac Brown, I think he's had a long career. He retired, and he retired at halftime of one of his games because when they got blown out by James Madison, and then he unretired. He said he was going to come back. he quit and then he came back, and he's really ready for the season to be over. So hopefully he maybe hangs it up for the good of him and North Carolina, because they've had some pretty good teams these past few years. And he came out of retirement to coach North Carolina. Dude's already been retired. Like, this was just like his last go around, I guess, with North Carolina, seeing if he can, make another run or whatever. But he was on TV for a while after he got out of coaching, but went back in. So another one here is Hugh Freeze and Auburn. I think this was kind of echoes Billy Napier here. Bad hire. Hugh Freeze is honestly a bad dude. Like, he's had a lot of issues. If you look up Hugh Freeze, I mean, he's had a lot of issues there with, like, off the field issues. So I don't think he's the guy you want leading your program, or if you're a big program. Now, a lot of people don't know Auburn was going to hire Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, but they did not hire him because they didn't want his son to come in and like run social media or whatever. They wanted their own. They pretty much didn't want the hoopla or whatever, which is stupid because they would be a whole lot better right now with him, because Hugh Freeze he's done. Hugh Freeze had a couple good years at Ole Miss back in the day. We remember they were all right, but he hasn't been able to do anything. And a lot of people don't know he was the coach with Michael Orr on from The Blind Side, the movie The Blind Side. He was his coach when Michael Orr went to Ole Miss to play. The coach, he was in the movie. He was the head coach in the movie. He was went to Ole Miss as well and started coaching there. So they went to Ole Miss together, kind of as a package deal. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they got him on too. Connections, man. It's all about who you know, right? So, yep, that's how Hugh Freeze got into the college ranks. He was a high school coach and came in with Michael Orr from The Blind Side, and he's had a quite crazy story since then. Was at Ole Miss, had the scandal with the off the field issues there. You have to look him up. I'm not gonna go over him. He was let go. Then he was at Liberty. He was the head coach at Liberty with Malik Willis, quarterback for the Packers, my Packers, who filled in for us, got us a couple dubs. He was the coach at Liberty, and then he tricked everybody. He had a couple good years at Liberty, and everybody thought he was back, and he's new and improved, and he's gonna go clean this time, and he's gonna be good, and he's back, right? Nah, he hasn't really done anything too much since he's been at Auburn. So hopefully Auburn gets somebody in there. They deserve it, because when they're good, it's their fun team. It makes the end of the season better because they play Alabama at their storied rivalry there. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know who they'll hire. I think they're going to spend a lot of money though on the hire. I think watch out for Auburn next year. But to round out the list, Trent Dilfer. If you know Trent Dilfer, he's was a quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He started as a quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, but he was horrible. He was horrible. He was just handed the ball off. Their defense won that championship for him. He's what they call a system quarterback. And he's when people say rings don't matter, he's who they bring up. Well, Trent Dilfer got a ring. Well, Trent Dilfer was a starting. He wasn't good, right? That's what they say. Um, I do have a lot of respect for him because he did actually run the Elite 11 quarterback camp, which we were very happy to cover. Shout out to Elite 11. Thank you for having us. We're planning to be back this year. But he ran that camp forever. It was a TV show. He pretty much got that camp to where it is now in prominence on how important it is. So I don't want to say he's horrible all around. It just has not worked with him at UAB. He went into coaching at high school. He kind of had a blow up there at high school with his player online. I didn't think it too much of it. Coaches, that's what happens in coaching. But it looks like that may have been a telltale sign. I don't think that he really has he's kind of in the Mac Brown boat, but he shouldn't be because he's a lot younger than Mac Brown. He has a ring. He was a quarterback. Like, they should want to, rally around Trent Dilfer, but I don't think he really has a great connection with his players. You don't have to be their friend. As a coach, you're not supposed to be your player's friend. You are not supposed to be their friend. You are their coach, but you are supposed to have a good connection with them. There's a happy medium there when it comes to that. So I don't think that's what's going on down there. I don't think they have that, which is not good to see, because I think they have a lot of potential. UAB, I mean, they're in Alabama, obviously, but the surrounding areas have a lot of talented players. So I really don't know what direction they'll go in. I don't think I've said a lot of these teams that are bad. Well, they might be good with the portal next year. I don't think this team could be good with the portal next year. I think they're a few years away, unfortunately. But as we're saying, talking about the portal, we'll go into the 2025 recruiting rankings as of right now. This was done by 247 Sports. Shout out to them. Ohio State rounded in at number one. The big guy right there up top with the glasses on. That is Tavian St. Clair. And then there's the number 2 quarterback in the nation coming in. When we covered at Elite 11, we got to watch Tavian St. Clair there throw. I got to watch him up close and personal, and he's a big dude. He's big. He's got pro size. I'll go ahead and say this little story from Tavian St. Clair. Give me a second. Story about the Elite 11 camp. Sorry about that. But the story we have about Tavian St. Clair's went there to watch him at Elite 11 Columbus, right? He's a local kid. He's from Ohio, and he's committed to Ohio State. You can see him there. He's going to be Ohio State's quarterback, I think, next year. That's my opinion. So he's a local kid going to local school at the local camp. Like, it's big, right? You got a lot of reporters there from Ohio State following him around like he's a rock star. He's a star. And what we noticed is about halfway through the camp, right? Two players come up in Ohio State short shirts, and the two guys are Julian Sayin is the name of one of them, and Air Noland. These are two quarterbacks that are already at Ohio State, right? Storied, big recruits, right? Big 5-star, 5-star recruits, right? And they're there watching him, and you kind of look like, oh, what's up? It's Air Nolan walking in and Julian Sayin walking in. That's great that they're there looking there at the future teammate. But halfway through the camp, they kind of get closer. And as Tavian's throwing, they get a little closer, and before you know it, they're right behind him. They're right behind him when he's throwing, and they're just watching him like this, right? Arms folded. They're just watching him like this, and they're not there to cheer on their future teammate. They're there to see if they need to transfer or if this dude's the real deal. They were there to see if they were there checking him, right? They were there scouting him, and not in a good way, right? Even though that's going to be their teammate, right? There's only one quarterback you put on the field, you know. And they were looking at him in that way, right? And that's one thing I noticed. That as someone who played, you kind of notice the difference. If you can kind of read between the lines, they weren't there high fiving him after every throw, and they weren't having smiles on their face. They were there with their arms crossed, seeing if they maybe need to transfer. So I don't know. That'd be a thing to look out there. I don't think they'll be able to keep all those quarterbacks at Ohio State. They have the number 1 recruiting class coming in. They have 2 good quarterbacks already there. Will Howard, their quarterback now, is obviously a senior. They have a dude named Devin Brown, too, that's still there. I think he's going to transfer. But I don't know, man. I think Tavian St. Clair might start as a freshman, dog. Like, he's big, and I think their kind of hands are tied. They're going to maybe have to start him as a freshman. I don't know. He's big. He's really big. He's like 6'4", 6'5". His wide shoulders, kind of built like not as big as a Cam Newton, but not too far off. If you said, he's right, he's almost there. He could be if you put, maybe he might be bigger than Cam Newton was in high school. Honestly, he might be. Um, it's crazy. But we got Ohio State here. I'll stop rambling about Tavian St. Clair, but he's going to be a good quarterback. When you see the number 2 quarterback in the nation up close, throwing, you're able to take away like, all right, is this guy overrated? They'd be like, no, he's appropriately rated. I think he's a no-brainer, top 3 quarterback in the nation coming in, and I think it's cool that he's going to the local school as well. It's not just all about the money for him. He always wanted to be a Buckeye, and man, hopefully he's the guy they need, because I don't think they have a good guy right now at quarterback, and Will Howard. If there was the old days where they didn't have so much money invested, I think they would have already maybe tried some packages with the other quarterbacks. So Alabama at 2. Kalen DeVore still able to churn out the recruits here. That's kind of surprising to see Alabama at 2, LSU at 3, Auburn at 4, and Georgia to round out the top 5 of the top recruiting classes coming in. I think you'll see a couple of these guys flip. Who knows? We've seen Deuce Knight flip from Notre Dame. He was a really good quarterback as well, top 10 quarterback in the nation. And a lot of these guys, man, a lot of these programs are going to be good. Now, you might just say these are all familiar faces. Yeah. You might be right in that. I get you. But it is still good to take a look at this and to see not all of these guys are even going to, finish their career there, right? That's just the statistics of it, right? So, like I said, Ohio State, they're not going to be able to keep their quarterback. So just take a look out here. If you see your favorite team, shout out to them. A couple of teams here I wouldn't, um, be really expecting to see is Rutgers and SMU. I think this is okay. Now look at this graphic. I think we can kind of read between the lines here with a couple of them. Look at Ole Miss at 25. So they're the last, place 25. They're behind Rutgers and SMU. And they're an SEC school, right? And they got Lane Kiffin at the helm. They're coaching. I think this is a sign that he's leaving. I think Lane, yeah, they rebuilt through the transfer portal. Cool, right? Cool. But I think if Lane was going to be staying, he'd have a higher recruiting class. That's just me, conspiracy, whatever, call me whatever. But I think Lane's out the door. I think Lane's going to take one of these jobs here that we have on the hot seat list. That's just my opinion. Don't be surprised if you see Lane at any of these schools right here. So I'm a fan of Lane. He hasn't won any big games. I get that, but I do want to give him respect. And anywhere he's gone, he has won. I mean, he has won, not won big games, but he has won overall. So I think he's never been at a place too long to really get his foot cemented in there and get his teeth sunk in and able to build it his way. I think a lot of these coaching jobs he's taken, he was like 36 or 38 when he was the head coach of the Raiders, right? So he wasn't ready for that job. He went to Tennessee, wasn't really ready for that job, and he had to clean up Phil Fulmer's mess that he left behind, right? And who else? Who else have in between that? And somebody else in between that. But he's been either cleaning up somebody else's mess before, right? Or he's just like not ready. I think right now the next job he takes is going to be the job he stays at for a long time, and that maybe gets him a national championship. We'll see. So yeah, Ole Miss didn't really make our top six this week, but this is our top six. We are going to have our full picks, me and Dalton, Saturday morning right before the game start. You'll get your picks in, and we'll have actually even more picks. Other than this, we'll go through mostly the full slate of all the games that day, get our quick picks, but we'll do deeper dives into here and get a team preview for each one. So before we end the stream, we will go over really quick here. We got Florida State over Duke. We got not over. I got Duke over Florida State. Over at Duke, home game for Duke. Nebraska, Indiana, Louisville, Miami, Michigan, Illinois, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, Texas. Game of the week being Georgia and Texas. I think that's going to be a showdown. This is going to tell a whole lot. Potentially national championship preview, potential playoff game. However, they're going to seed him. We don't know, but very excited. Very, very excited. Do want to shout out to anyone that's tuned in. We've gained a little bit better following there on Rumble. Shout out everyone that's tuning in on Rumble and tuning in on Kick. So yeah, you can find us anywhere you're really streaming from. So Twitch as well, and obviously YouTube. So shout out to everyone that's been doing that. Dalton wasn't able to join us today, but we're able to get him in on Saturday. And Saturday morning, man, it's gonna be really fun because, like I said, we're gonna do our full picks and we'll do a deeper dive in. And then Monday we will do review and NFL review. But if you're seeing on our socials today, we announced that basketball coverage will be starting next week. Home Squad Hoops. That's going to be the show's name there. We're going to go 2 days a week right now, maybe go 3. But we got a very special guest on our first episode to kick it off to kind of get our preseason picks there. Won't tell you who it is yet, but to give you a little sneak peek, it is a former pro player. That's all I'll say. Former pro player, and he's going to be joining us here to really get us his expertise. An absolute bucket guy I'm very blessed to know, and shout out to him. And we're really excited because we'll have some more guests throughout the year as well. People that have played college, people that have played pro, and people that one percenters in this world and in this sports shit, man. People that have cashed checks with playing sports, right? They've paid bills playing the game that they love, and that's all you can ask for, man. That's the dream. When you're shooting the driveway, you're counting down the 3, 2, 1, right? You're saying whoever team you play for, you're hitting the last shot for the Lakers or the Bulls or however you was doing, whatever team you picked as a kid. And these guys actually went on to the big stage and was able to do it. So I'm very blessed to be able to get their insights and true expertise because they are experts. And like I said, Home Squad Hoops starting as well. We got some interviews dropping. I think tomorrow, we're going to drop that tomorrow. We got interviews from last week's game with Jameer. We got Ty Watkins. I mean, from the Mount Healthy game, these are D1 guys, man. Akron commit. We got the interview the day after he committed to Akron. So I'm very excited to watch a lot of these players, follow the recruiting. And recruiting back in the day before NIL, it would drop off right around January. As soon as the season ended, if you were lucky to go and state championship or make a run, you played till November or to the first week of December. And then that's when recruiting would kind of pick up after that or a little bit before that until February. Well, now with NIL, all these scholarships are pretty much, taken for except for the guys they're going to lose, right? So a lot of these guys are having to commit a whole lot earlier, and they're having to get their offers earlier. They're having to make their decision earlier. And, a lot of the people saying these kids have it easier. In some ways they do, but man, they're having to make the biggest decision a lot quicker than, people that our age had to and people that I know have had to. So, they had more time to kind of, weigh out their options and go on all their visits after the season when they, they're a lot of these people are having to choose who they're going before their senior season. So it's been weird. It's been an adjustment to kind of when you're covering it. It's been seemingly never ending in the stuff that's changing with NIL. And I know high school NIL has been started as well. So and they're even starting to get paid in high school, depending what state you live in. So, but that's pretty much gonna about do it for our show today. We got top six covered here. We're very excited to go over that on Saturday. But in the meantime, we will see you until then. You'll have a great rest of your week. Have a great Friday and help someone. And we will see you Saturday morning. Peace.